we got a lot of moving parts tonight. Let's get into the Horned Frog discussion. Let's start with there because the game has been pretty spectacular, Mike. And I think the best way to put it is this thing felt like the West Virginia Big 12 championship game. Best players, or at least one of your best players in foul trouble. You're playing from behind the majority of the game. The difference is they got over the hump and forced overtime. What's been your biggest takeaway so far?
Yeah, I think where it all kind of started, and it's still ongoing right now, TCU with a 58-51 lead in overtime on West Virginia. You're probably watching it. We're watching it. It's right there off camera. We're keeping tabs on this thing as well. TCU has started OT marvelously.
Yeah.
But they needed to make a comeback here, and it started for me with a foul call against Olivia Miles. It was a 50-50 ball underneath West Virginia's hoop. Miles got bumped off the ball. She bumped the West Virginia player off the ball. Looked like two players just going for a loose basketball. Really should have been a no call. Miles was fired up about the foul call, and they were talking about it on the broadcast, in fact, where this was going to go, how she was going to respond to the moment. Would it energize her? Would it lead her to excel down the stretch, or would it derail her? It led her to excel. She created for TCU the balance of the basketball game, created the final bucket that led to them taking the lead in the waning seconds with Clara Silva scoring on a bucket that you saw. We were still doing sports special at that point. I didn't even see the bucket, but I know that Miles set it up. There's a lot going on tonight with the game happening currently. By the way, now 58-54. Terrific comeback from TCU to force OT, and now they are in OT right now in a game that just got a whole lot closer now, 58-57.
I just want to say it is a plague upon society, and I mean no disrespect to Damian Lillard, to Luka Doncic, to all these guys that have hit incredible shots. But step-back threes as the clock expires is not a good shot. I'm with Paul George on this one. Drive to the basket, make something happen, draw a foul, especially late in the game that's been as physical as this one. You want to get some action at that point and force the defense to stop you. I was a little disappointed by the end of regulation, not just because we can't have a final score on the show right now. So there's a little bit of mixed right there too.
We've got a chance to have a final score on this show at some point in this half an hour, 60-57 right now the score. We will come back to TCU in Washington in a moment. Let's let that finish, and in the meantime, let's talk about the Texas women because they were also fantastic today in a completely different sense, obliterating Oregon. And speaking of moving parts, we will have Corey Mose from our sister station down in Austin K-View joining us in a moment to talk about not just the Texas women, but also the Texas men that are on to the Sweet 16 as well. But let's start with the women because Madison Booker absolutely went nuclear today. A 40 ball on Oregon. She herself very nearly outscored Oregon. They had 58 as a team. She was exceptional.
Yeah, that's kind of an understatement. You see 40 on the stat sheet, you see 100 on the scoreboard. And again, some of these women's scores get a little lopsided, but it's rare you see triple digits, especially in the second round, let alone the first. But where Booker's concerned, there's no facet of her game that feels like a weakness. And also, as much as she carries the load, that team is loaded across the board. They've got dynamic energy all the way around. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we have our guest coming up, or no? Am I getting ahead of myself here? Okay,
not
never
yet.
mind.
Corey will be here soon.
I ended up getting ahead of myself, just like I thought TCU would be over by now. Anyway, no, but the Texas women as a whole, really what put them on the map was the South Carolina game. I mean, as good as they've been in recent memory, them beating South Carolina in the SEC championship was like, okay, we got a different team going into this. And it's nice to see them continue with that energy, and they're just like a freight train right now, Mike.
Yeah, no, they have a very real chance to win a national championship this year. They're that good. Now, yes, there's South Carolina out there. Yes, there's UConn out there that is the boogeyman for everybody.
And LSU, who put up a number today.
No kidding. Whew. Goodness. LSU, I'm sorry, Texas Tech fans. Good night. Wow. They were motivated. Flau'jae Johnson's final game at the PMAC, they were fired up for that game. There's a lot of factors that went into that, but holy smokes, LSU looked like a buzzsaw today. So yeah, there's challenges still out there waiting for Texas, but this team is really, really good. And when you've got a player like Madison Booker that on any given night can be the best player in any gymnasium she's in, they're a team that can win a national championship, especially if they can do like they did today. They were 8-12 from three-point range today. They are a team that does not shoot a high volume of threes, does not make a high volume of threes, But if they can introduce a little, just sprinkle that in a little more than they do currently, that makes them, that's lighter fluid on an already really, really good basketball team. They're a team that can win a championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike, our guest is ready, but we got to get a break and get everything set up.
Corey Mose. How about this for a tease? Corey Mose is coming up next on the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. One Corey Mose joining us from our sister station KView down in Austin. Corey, I know you've been keeping close tabs on both of these Texas programs as they've made their run into the NCAA tournament. We were talking heavily about the women's program before you joined in, and obviously talking about the performance of Madison Booker today. Ooh. I'm curious your perspective on the player she is, the player she continues to become, how much not being SEC Player of the Year has motivated her. She looked possessed today.
Yeah, and I had a front row seat, thank God. I was in the building in the Moody Center, and you just tell from tip-off, she was getting to her spots, and they were calling plays for her the moment the game started. She had 14 points by the end of the first quarter. Mind you, her career high is 31. And so she was already halfway there after the first quarter, and so you could just tell that was the game plan. I think the reason why is because on Friday night, she didn't really have a good game, to be honest. She didn't shoot well at all, and so it felt like this was her get-back when it comes to the last game in the Moody Center, and boy, did she get it back. 40-piece, no nuggets, and like you said, just the person that she is, right? She's an awesome person. I was able to talk to her after the game one-on-one, and she was just speaking about how her teammates were setting her up in great spots to shoot the ball, and she's right. Roy Harmon, her final night in the Moody Center, by the way, another Longhorn legend, ended her career in Austin, and so that is something that Madison always talks about looking up to Rory, but now you can see that this team is kind of becoming Madison's team. And now these recruits that are coming in, mind you, 3 All-Americans have all come in because they want to play with Madison. And I think that's been cool to see over the last couple of months.
Yeah, we also got to talk about the men's team because I think that the run that they've been on the last couple days, really, it's kind of tough to rationalize that. But 3 games in 5 days, and all of a sudden here they are back in the Sweet 16. What's impressed you most about this run?
It's the defense. We already knew this offense was going to be a top 10 offense coming into the year because of Sean Miller's scheme and because you got guys coming back like Tremont Mark and Jordan Pope. But this defense has been so lackluster. I know you've heard multiple Sean Miller sound bites about we just want to foul everybody on jump shots. And so coming into the NCAA tournament, they were top 10 in offense and in the bottom 15 in defensive efficiency. And so the question was, can they just outscore people? But now that's not the question because they're able to hold guys underneath 75 points in the last 3 matchups. And that's something that if you can do that with this offense, you see what happens. You can make it to the Sweet 16. So the offense was always there. It's just could they get stops? And now they're finally getting stops, and you see the result of that.
This is also, to me, a stark example of the impact of a guy like Sean Miller. This is why you go hire a coach like Sean Miller that has experience in March Madness, knows what it means to win big games in this tournament. I know he hasn't been to a Final Four, but he's done everything except get to a Final Four in his career. He's had a very, very good career. Xavier, Arizona, back to Xavier, now here at UT, and it takes him all of about 16 minutes to have Texas moving on to the regional semifinals. This is a team, he talked about this after the game last night, that he felt like they took a while to gel. They took a while to come together. A bunch of guys, he said, we basically didn't know each other at all coming into this season. And that's not abnormal in the current college landscape, obviously, but they have come together, obviously, now at this point and played some really good basketball over the last 5 days. As they now push forward into the Sweet 16, what do you think is the most important element for Sean Miller's team if they're going to keep this going now against a really good Purdue team?
There's a couple points that comes to mind. One, limit the turnovers like they've been doing. I believe they only had 7 turnovers last night against Gonzaga. If you cannot give up easy buckets in transition, that's something that they can get back on defense and set their defense up has helped them out a lot so far in this tournament. The other thing, of course, Matas Vokatitis. After the game last night, he was asked about his performance against Graham Ike, mind you, an All-American from Gonzaga. Vokatitis had 17 points and 9 rebounds. The game before against BYU, 23 points and 16 rebounds. This dude has been playing out of his mind. And so if he continues to play like the best big man in the country, which he said he thinks he is last night, he said that on record. If he continues to play like that, this team can go as far as that he takes them because you also have the spark plugs in Jordan Pope, the clutch shot making in Tremont Mark, and the guy that came over from Xavier with Sean Miller and Dalen Swain, who leads the Longhorns in nearly every category. They have so many weapons to beat you from offensively. Can you not turn the ball over? And can you continue to have Boca Titus play at this high of a level, especially defensively inside the paint? That is going to be the key to making it to the Final Four.
Yeah, I was posting just before Texas's game in the first four that people who didn't know the name Dalen Swain would get to know it over the course of, and I thought, I didn't see this week coming, obviously, for Texas, but I thought he was going to have a more profound impact in the NC State game. He wasn't a huge factor in that one, but we've obviously seen him make his impact over the course of the games this weekend. What, when you think of the performance, the game that he has in general, what impresses you most about Swain, and how do you think they can work the offense through him as they get into the Sweet 16 and certainly they hope the Elite Eight?
I'm not gonna lie, I like Swain a lot. I'm a big Swain guy. Just following him throughout this whole season, he was projected as a second-round pick to start the year, but you see him slowly moving up the mock drafts. Now he's like late first round because he's a big wing that does everything. And now, when I said earlier he leads Texas in every category, I'm being dead serious. Points, rebounds, assists, steals, he does it all. And so him being able to do that at 6'8", 6'9", is so cool to see because he plays at his own pace. He doesn't rush things. He's gotten a lot more strong. He got stronger over the last offseason, gaining about 10 to 15 pounds. And so you can see that muscle as he attacks the basket. But one thing that Sean Miller really pointed out last night was that over the last 2 games, Dalen has, I believe, 14 assists and just 1 turnover. I mean, that's huge. That's huge for a guy that controls the rock and honestly controls his offense so much because he's a guy that is kind of like the engine to everything.
Got to give the update because it just happened a moment ago. TCU a winner, 62-59 in OT. West Virginia had a 3-pointer to tie as time was expiring, and it missed off the back iron. TCU coming all the way back in the fourth quarter and a very impressive OT. And they win it. They are moving on to the Sweet 16 for the 2nd consecutive season.